2, 1, and we're live now. Hey guys, welcome back to another show. This is the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I have with me Ellen Dee Davidson. We're going to play the intro and we're going to get started, and I'm really excited about this show. Hey guys, like I said, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. This is episode number 2095. And we have with us Ellen Dee Davidson. And I just want to say that she's the second author that I've had on tonight from Inner Traditions. Like right before you, Ellen, I had on Laura Aversano from Inner Traditions, and now you. So it's just weird how things like that work out, you know. But tonight we're going to be talking about sacred forest bathing and nature's mystical wisdom. And who I have with me is at Ellen again, and she's the author of Wind in the Miracle Forest, the Forest Bathing Guide. Ellen Dee Davidson is a children's author and nature mystic who uses her writing to bridge the worlds of imagination, healing, and Earth's consciousness. She is here to help us reconnect with the living forest of our inner child. Wow, that's amazing. I'd like to give her a big warm welcome to the show for the first time. Ellen, thanks so much for coming on. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this is cool. So where does this all start? How does this all start for you?
This started when we moved up to the redwoods of far northern California 33 years ago. And there's an old growth redwood in my backyard that started coming to me in my dreams and teaching me all sorts of things, which was impossible at that time for me to believe that was what was really happening. Now I think it was.
Wow, that's amazing. And what was it trying to, what do you think it was trying, do you think it was trying to make contact with you at first? And do you think it was a spirit of an ancient being or something like that?
I think it was the actual conscious intelligence of the ancient tree. Those trees, the coastal redwoods can be 2,000-3,000 years old. So imagine trees that have been around here since the dinosaurs were romping around. They've been here a long time, and they have a much different intelligence than we do, but it's consciousness and it's intelligence.
Wow, that's amazing. Like what inspired your shift from teaching and writing for children into like deeper, like spiritual, ecological work? Was it that, or did that make you want to go deeper into the topic?
Well, first off, when I was having those dreams, and I mean 3 a week for years, and I still have them occasionally, and the tree was showing me fungi, and this was before people knew how the mycelium at the tree's roots helped them communicate with each other about the nutrients they need and the nutrients they can offer and other things. So I had no idea why this tree kept showing me fungi and mushrooms and the animals and creatures that lived in its branches and the energetic radiance. And I kept analyzing the dreams. I was already really into my dreams. And
I was just going to say, it seems like the mycelium have a mycelium network, right? That goes underground and they communicate with each other.
Yeah, they send chemical messengers. So they communicate through chemicals, requesting nutrients like phosphorus or nitrogen that they need and offering it. And sometimes it's just amazing how much intelligence is going on in all of nature, but in particular with forests. So anyway, It went from that, and I would analyze the dreams as if the tree was part of me, because at that time, I couldn't imagine that a tree would be conscious or intelligent or sentient. But since then, there's been so much science that has come out, and it has validated many of my experiences. Well, so about 15 years after that, I was doing a lot of Tibetan Buddhist meditation. And the Lama, the Vajrayana Lama, suggested that we follow the juice or the joy. And that coincided with my youngest daughter going off to college. And I had a little more free time than I'd ever had. And so I started playing a game on free days. What do I want to do? Being to go to the old growth forest. So I started driving off a half an hour either north or south because there's only a few scattered old growth trees left here. They were mostly all cut down. We're down to the last 5%. So I started going, and I couldn't always get my husband and two best friends to go with me. So I ended up going alone, which was a little bit scary. There's lots of wild animals, but I loved it because being alone, I became really fully present with the whole environment. And then I would sit. I'd hike for 4 miles or so and then sit with these trees, and everything happened. It's been an amazing journey.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you think like they chose you because you were someone already tapped in? Like, for example, like you were, I can just tell that you're already like you can already see outside the box, because for someone to be able to write children's books, because like, you're still using your imagination with children's books. So like to be able to communicate with trees, I think you have to have an imagination. I'm not saying you're imagining it. I'm just saying like you have to be able to put yourself in another reality where you can communicate with that tree, where it's real. If that am I making any sense, or you know what I'm trying to say?
I recently heard someone say that imagination is our bridge to the quantum field.
I agree. I would agree with that.
Right? And I'm not actively imagining what I'm doing when I sit with the trees. And I don't think I am special. I think I just spent the time doing it, and that this is available to all of us. Nature's reaching out now, wanting to create with us a beautiful, thriving, healthy world. And all the elements, the elementals, the nature intelligences want more connection. In order for us to have that connection, though, we have to slow down and learn how to be receptive. We're really good at the parts of our brains that get things done and organize and can figure things out. And that's great. We need that. But I think as a culture, Western cultures, we're a little underdeveloped on being able to receive and to just open. So we're missing huge amounts of reality.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. How do you define forest bathing, and what is its emotional or spiritual benefits, would you say?
Well, when I first started going to the forest and I was practicing forest bathing, I'd never heard the term. So, but the Japanese had been doing studies, and they later came out with them in something they call Shinrin Yoku, which is a term that translated means forest bathing. And what forest bathing is just immersing in a healthy, unharmed forest ecosystem and practicing mindfulness at the same time. And by that, I just mean being quiet and present and paying attention and really settling into the body and all the senses. So that, because those are our doors of perception, right? So when we notice what we're smelling and what we're hearing and what we're seeing, and from those senses, what I've found is more subtle senses like intuition and body knowing and uh, just timing. Things like that start opening up for us, and we just become a little bit more multidimensional.
I love that. That's so cool. Like, and you think this is available to anybody as long as they put in the time. They have to put in the work of being out in nature and staying out. And like so, like, I guess this is so cliche to say, but like so many people, spend so much time amongst technology nowadays. It's like we're a technology-driven society, but there should be a healthy balance between nature and technology. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for saying that. Exactly. I couldn't feel it more. I feel like we need to ground ourselves in the earth, in the right now, what's really happening, because we're getting so virtual, And in virtual reality, it is like a matrix. There's any reality, and you can go here and go there and create this and that. But it's not embodied. It's not this moment. And nature brings us back to where we are right now. As far as being available to anyone, the Japanese studies show that even forest bathing for a day or two has all kinds of proven health benefits, like lowering blood pressure, stress, cortisol, speeding wound healing, making more T cells, so boosting the immune system, helping kids with ADHD, and helping depression and anxiety and all kinds of things. And they've proven this. And it really only takes 1 day or two a month. So it's not a huge time commitment for people to get the benefits. It's just go out and play, but not blasting your Walkman. I mean, that's great. People, or whatever your little ear pods are with your great music, that's great. And there's plenty of room to do that. But to get the full benefits of forest bathing, we want to try and be all there.
I got a question. Yeah. Do you think someone can have the same experience out in the ocean? Because I'll just tell you, like, I was a surfer for a long. I'm out of shape now, but I used to be a surfer in my 20s, and I remember some of my most peaceful, docile moments where I just felt like really in tune with the earth. Is when I would be out past the waves, so I'd be waiting to catch a wave, and I would just kind of take everything in and like. For example, I could give you an example. One time I was surfing in Ocean City, Maryland, because I used to surf all over the East Coast. And it was right. We had gotten there late and we just wanted to hit the waves. That was like the first thing we wanted to do, And I remember we were surfing at night, which was like so that the light was starting to go down, So I happened to look up and I looked up and the whole boardwalk was lit up. And I was like, and the ocean felt so beautiful and peaceful and serene. Like I wasn't scared of sharks. I wasn't worried about dolphins. I wasn't worried about any stingrays, nothing like jellyfish. I was just like in the moment. And I was just like, even though there was somewhat of the boardwalk was there, obviously there was people and stuff, but I still felt like in that moment in the ocean, I felt so, I don't know. I could see it doing that stuff that you said, like lowering blood pressure and, giving you more oxygen. I don't know. What do you think of
expanding your consciousness into more unity consciousness? It's proven. What you're thank you for sharing that, because they've actually done studies about blue spaces like oceans, waterfalls, rivers, lakes, and they have similar. It's different, but similar beneficial effects on people of lowering stress. Personally, I think we can bond with any sort of nature and get beneficial effects. So deserts, rocks, forests, of course, prairies. I don't think it's limited. I think what's really being asked of humanity right now is, especially Western modern people, is to just get back in touch with Earth.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think we're missing that, right? With the way our society is, right? That's like a big thing that we're missing. Like, do you think the Mother Earth, do you think Gaia is kind of crying out to us in that way? That it wants us to connect with it more?
I hear it in the trees. I mean, because one of the things about slowing down, and actually now I know why Buddha got enlightened under a tree after 49 days. The trees help. They have a bio electric field. And HeartMath has been studying this. And this field interacts with our own human bioelectric energetic field. And when we're in the presence of trees, we calm down and go into a more peaceful, relaxed state of being. And I think people need that right now. I know it's really hard right now for people not to get really stressed out. There's a lot going on, and the pace is fast.
I agree.
Yeah.
one thing I was going to tell you was one time when I had an entity attachment, I had like a real entity attachment. People kept telling me to go stand by a tree. They were like, go stand by a tree. They're like, put your hand on a tree. They're like, rest your head on a tree. So I would do that, and like when I say entity attachment, I never saw like a ghost or demon or anything like that. Like I could just feel an energy on me. You know what I mean? Like that's all it was. You could just feel like an extra presence of energy there, But I would lean on the tree and I would I would let it absorb my energy, and like I get exactly what you're saying. I can see why it has the biofield, and it was like interacting with me. It was very amazing.
It is, and they're conscious, and it's a relationship, and it's intimate to relate to nature, whether it's the water or the trees or whatever, a rock. And so um, we give back by loving the tree, by appreciating the tree's beauty, maybe in a ceremonial way. But it's important, as in any relationship, that it's two ways. And I'm sure not only did the tree probably help lift that off of you, along with your own willingness and conscious intent not to have whatever that negative energy was, but the tree can compost it because they're so grounded, and it goes into the earth and then creates new life, because that's
Wow,
what Gaia does.
that's amazing. I love this. And so, let me see here. Your book Wind won the Nautilus Gold Award. What was the core takeaway message that you hoped readers would take away from that?
Well, Wind is a middle grade high fantasy, kind of in the spirit of the Wizard of Oz and Narnia and those ones. And I guess in that one, I wanted kids to be delighted, entertained, inspired, and take away how the importance of friendship for solving problems, and also collaboration with the natural world.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And I'm just going through my questions here. And can you share a mystical or magical experience that you had in nature that kind of deeply impacted you?
Oh boy, I had so many. I think I'll share this one I had at a tree that named Ancestor Tree, and had hiked 4 miles, and I was sitting there just letting myself settle and get clear, like a turbid stream, just letting all the thoughts and everything settle to the bottom so I could have a moment of peace. It's not always easy for me to get there, so the trees have been a great help. And I was sitting there, and the tree somehow spontaneously took me on a shamanic journey. I'm not a shaman. I had been to one a couple times, so I recognized that this was one. And I went through the roots, and I got a power animal. And the next thing I knew, I was vividly, almost like 3D, as if I were in a movie, like a hologram, very experiential. Uh, in Ireland. My maternal line is Celtic, and I found myself in Ireland around an oak tree in the moonlight, and they were doing a ceremony. And this Celtic ancestress from like 800 years ago then asked me if I wanted to reconnect to that nature worshiping lineage that had been lost had been lost throughout time. I said yes. And since I said that yes, magical things have been happening to me a lot more often. So I do sense that there is some sort of, I've never had another vivid experience where I felt like I was totally seeing and talking to this being, but I have had a lot of synchronicities and cool magical things.
That is cool. You're involved in the Tree Sisters and Earth Treasure Base Global Healing. What role do women's groups play in healing the planet, would you say, right now?
Earth Treasure Vase is men and women, and it's a mandala of vases. It's a Tibetan practice, and Cynthia Jers has been guiding it. It's a mandala of vases planted with blessings and prayers in them all over the world, kind of like as acupuncture points to help heal everyone. And they've had some interesting results where conflicts have lowered in the areas of ACEs planted. And then Tree Sisters is a wonderful organization, planting trees mainly in the more tropical places and putting money into the hands of women in countries with less money so that they then educate their daughters who they usually can't afford to send to school. And that's one of the solutions to climate change in drawdown. So I just love it. It's a win-win all the way around. I'm also in Awakening Women, and that's women's meditation led by Shamali Gad, and she is really expert on mythology. And what she does is she takes these ancient stories and helps us embody the qualities from the stories. So when I was in the trees, the book that came out with Inner Traditions is Sacred Forest Bathing. So when I was in the trees, I was feeling various goddesses. And cultures all over the world have had, anywhere there's forests, there are forest goddesses. So
Yeah, that's amazing. And let me see here. Why do you think so many children are drawn to nature and fantasy? And what happens when we lose that as adults? Or do you think we lose that as adults? Maybe indoctrination or something like that?
I think there's a lot of pressure on adults and we get really busy. I mean, it's hard to keep it together with a job and a family and a house and all the things that we have to do. And but children who have outside time usually will find a favorite spot in nature or a favorite tree, and often that stimulates imaginative play. And I mean, think of when we were children and you'd look at the clouds and see all kinds of dragons and whatever you saw in the clouds. It's just so natural to human beings to do that.
I agree. What would you say, going back to your book now, what would you say are some physical, emotional, and even psychic benefits you witnessed yourself and others through forest bathing?
Well, for me personally, when I started the practice, I'd had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, really bad insomnia, chemical sensitivities, and I was catching every single virus that came down the pike. So
Wow.
I wasn't in good shape for a good long while, 10, 15 years. And I had done everything. I had done hypnosis and acupuncture and gone to therapists and tried juicing and vitamins and you name it. I had tried it. And um, finally had just decided, well, this is my life. And I'm in a certain amount of physical pain and I'm tired, but I'll just make the best of it and enjoy it as much as I can. So I had resigned myself. And then when I was meditating, which I was also trying to see if that would help, on my long odyssey of helping to heal me, when I was meditating and the Lama suggested we follow the juice, and then the juice for me was to go to the forest. And I thought that would be once. I didn't know that 17 years later I'd be doing it as often as I possibly could. So I didn't have any expectation that it would heal me. None at all. I hadn't heard of forest bathing. I didn't know about the studies, but I just started going. And sometimes I'd go with my husband or one of my best friends, but often they couldn't go, so I'd go by myself. And it was very subtle, the way natural cures often are. It wasn't an instant take a pill and you're fixed. But I noticed, oh, wow, I can turn my neck again. That's cool. And oh, I'm sleeping pretty well. Wow. Oh, I slept again last night. And then pretty soon, I'm in a good mood almost all the time. This is great. And then I had that feeling that we had, a lot of us had when we were kids. Remember the feeling when you'd wake up in the morning so excited and you couldn't wait to find out what the day held? That came back, along with awe and wonder and just the sheer gratitude and joy at the miracle of being alive. And I'm 71 now, and honestly, I haven't ever felt better. I'm the happiest I've ever been.
You're the same age as my mom. That's exactly the same age as my mom. You don't look 71. I'll tell you that. So
Well, I got to share this. Okay, listen up, everybody. This is unbelievable, but I'm not making this up. This is not science. It's not proven. But I probably have twice as much hair on my head since I've been forest bathing. I'm not kidding.
so for me, like, I don't live in an urban area, but I don't live in I don't live in like a heavily okay. It's weird. Like, I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right? So like I live 30 minutes north of the big city, so I live in like a suburban area. But I know there's like a track I can go down to. It's like right by my house, and it's heavily wooded area. Would you say that like I should just like go down to the track and like go out into the woods there, like and would that be considered? Would that be a good place?
Yeah, I recommend for everyone that they find places close to home. Of course, we can all go on a great vacation here or there once in a while, but in order to have regular, repeated, intimate contact, it's important to find places that you can access. So if you have some trees, maybe you'll find one that you feel drawn to, and it doesn't need to take a long time. Maybe that's just your daily walk, and you stop for 5 minutes and greet the tree and receive a little bit. It's not this needs to be easy and fun, because otherwise we won't keep doing it. So it's what's accessible. And people that can't leave the house or don't have a nearby park, some house plants or even a pet, an animal, will help us connect with our own more animal bodies and so it's about relationship. Even drinking water, paying attention to that water that we're drinking and getting the cleanest water we can, but maybe blessing it. But we're in relationship with the natural world, and it's just reestablishing that is simple and utterly profound.
That's amazing. Let me see here. I'm looking at my questions here. You talk about the forest having a sacred consciousness. Do you believe trees and natural ecosystems are sentient? I think we kind of talked about that. Yeah, right.
I didn't used to. My dad was a mathematician. I grew up with science was it, and I still love science. And not that I'm particularly good at it, but I do love it. And this was just out of my box. But there's just been too many coincidences that are so inexplicable that now I do. And also now the science is catching up and thinking that trees are sentient. HeartMath just did an experiment with people sending love and appreciation and admiration to some maples, and they measured the ambient electromagnetic field of the trees, and the trees expanded when people sent that appreciation. So we're in relationship. In fact, the trees and the plants have been on the planet for something like 400 million years. And Homo sapiens for about 300,000. They have made Earth inhabitable for us. They and the phytoplankton. And they, in a way, they're our evolutionary guides.
That's amazing. Just as a comment from the audience, Sally Force says she's loving all this.
Oh, thank you.
What do let me see here. Can you describe the writing process of the book? Did the forest itself influence your words as you were writing, would you say?
Well, yeah, I think the forest sort of wrote the book. And I'll tell you why. Because I've been through the writer's gauntlet of rejection and getting published and having publishers go out of business, and after a book won lots of awards, and so then not getting to continue on, and everything had happened to me, and writing up to that point had been a lot of work, sometimes a couple years into a book or even more. And so I had thrown in the towel. Yeah, nope, I'm retirement age. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to write this one off. And then I was doing my thing in the forest, and some years in, I'd sit to meditate, and I kept being shown this book, and it would have this blazing light all around it. And I go, no, no, not for me. I'm not a writer anymore. Go away. Don't want to do this. And then, but it wouldn't quit. So I could never have a good meditation because every time I tried to meditate, I'd see the same vision. So finally I said, okay, I'll do it. And I went home. That book poured into me. And the whole time writing it, it was almost effortless. It was so fast. And I did have to edit things later, but I was in an altered state of consciousness almost the whole time writing it, and it was blissful. I would love to write another book if it could come like that instead of having to figure out the whole plot the way I usually do.
That's amazing. And then do you believe forest bathing can help us remember our deeper soul connection to Gaia? I guess, right?
Yeah, I think any kind of nature therapy and time in nature will do that. Not can, will. If anyone, and there's nothing that a person needs to do but open and be quiet. I mean, we get pretty busy, so it's important not to stay in the mental loop thinking be present, be there for a little while.
Yeah. And then what message do you think the forest wants us to hear right now in this time of global chaos and change?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, the message I've been receiving quite a lot is that when we listen and are guided by nature and follow nature's lead, restoration of both ourselves and our ecologies will be miraculous beyond our wildest imaginings. And I have a real life example of that I'd like to share, which I wrote about in my children's book, The Miracle Forest, which actually took 16 years. And that's a long story. But it's about the true story. It's a bilingual children's book about a community in Colombia called Gaviotas. And they were sustainable, but they wanted to create this community in a difficult place because the founder, Paulo Lugeri, believed overpopulation, we'd have to live in harder places. And they couldn't get anything to grow. And finally, they tried tropical Caribbean pine trees. Shaded in the understory of those pines, something so unexpected and miraculous happened. Rainforests not seen in the area for thousands of years. Some biologists even think 30,000 years. Spontaneously regenerated, brought back over 260 species of flora and fauna, created more clean water, and now they're planting more and more of these pine forests. It's really hard to restore a rainforest once it's gone because of the loss of the topsoil. So that's an example of what Gaia can do. I'm sure other examples exist on the planet. And we just have to get out of the way and just put our best foot forward and cooperate a little.
That's a good point. And then the audience wanted to know, did you ever have a Bigfoot experience when you were out in the forest, or did any forest spirits like the Fae or any UFO experience, anything like that?
Okay. No on Bigfoot. Never. Nothing like that. I have had a sense of telepathic. The trees act like antenna, and they can connect us with all kinds of intelligences, both the Gaia and the cosmic ones. And so actually I've had like what felt like telepathic connections with what I called them star beings. And I didn't visually perceive anything, which would have scared me, but I did feel like I was telepathically in communication. As far as forest and nature spirits and little fae, all the time, but in an effervescent, bubbly, playful way, I just sort of get infused with their energy. And sometimes I'll see little dancing lights and they'll lead me places, not like I'm seeing literal fairies with wings or leprechauns. I mean, that's happened occasionally, but that feels pretty imaginary to me. But there's another level of this where I feel like the luminous intelligence of nature is visible.
Almost like orbs in a way, but like, you know, like orbs, right? Like that would be like, And orbs could be like, I've heard people say that orbs can be human consciousness, but I also think orbs can be nature's consciousness. They could be like you said, the luminous like projections that the earth and almost like they can be dancing for you in a way. Like they can be speaking to you in certain ways, like to convey a message that they want to give to you, I would say, maybe, right?
Yeah, the ideas that I have in the forest, they'll kind of feel like mine. And over the years, I realized the quality of my thoughts is subtly different. So it's enhanced. And in Western and a lot of other cultural history, people used to make big decisions outside by what were called council trees. And that's because being in the presence of nature, nature does have more of a voice. But it
Yeah.
comes through almost as if it's you, but it's you connected to the larger ecology, the larger whole, and that expands infinitely. So we're scratching the surface of our human potential, and we have a lot of dormant abilities. Some indigenous and ancestral people do know and have activated. A lot of us have read about how the Aborigines could, hear the song lines and know what their babies needed and all of that. And the kids that are the autistic kids that are telepathic, that's becoming science that they can communicate that way. These are abilities we all have. They've gone dormant. We've been told they're not real. And when you think something's not real, you're not going to have that experience. We just block it all off.
I agree. Wow, this was amazing. Well, I was going to say, is there any other final message you want to give the audience before we finish up today, and tell the audience how they can also get the book too? And thank you. This was amazing.
Sacred Forest Bathing, The Healing Power of Nature and Wild Places is available through Inner Traditions. You can also find more about it on my website, which is basically just ellendeedavidson.com, and it's all lowercase. D is spelled D-E-E. And 12 Willows Press has Wind and the Miracle Forest, and they're available on all the normal online vendors, through local bookstores. They can be ordered. Some libraries have the books, and yeah, that's that. I'd love it if people would read some and tell me what you think. That'd be even better.
Yeah, that's awesome. And my moderator, thank you so much, Jason. Jason's amazing. He put your website up on the screen, and thank you so much, guys. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll be live one more time tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern with Veronica Bartolini. So I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. Eastern. And thank you, Ellen. It was so nice meeting you. And yeah, take care, everyone. And thank you, Ellen.